Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, Ayana and I are going to talk about the dogma in the carnivore community. Is it a cult or not? Thank you so much, Ayana, for joining me again today. People are loving our chat, so we're going to do more of that. I want to just
Yes.
remind everybody that we both have had our weight loss transformations. I'm going to pop our pictures here. Ayana is my close collaborator and friend and a bikini competitor and a very well-versed expert in weight loss, dieting, and all the good stuff that we love to talk about here on my channel. And I've had a
Mhm.
30-pound weight loss also transformation, which I always talk about. And the reason I always bring those up is because in the same way that we don't take advice from people who haven't gone through what we've been through and they don't have that transformation, it's very hard to really understand all the nuances that go into weight loss and then maintaining that weight loss. So it's really important that you always take advice from people who have achieved the thing that you want to achieve. And if they have a similar lifestyle to yours or a similar background to yours or history, it means that probably what worked for them is going to work for you. So,
Yes.
right? Ayana,
Very true.
thank you again. So let's go ahead and talk about the dogma in the carnivore community. What has been your experience around that?
Yes. Coming from the keto world, well, first bodybuilding, then coming back to the keto world because I was there before bodybuilding too in the
Mm-hmm.
early 2000s. It was just a lot simpler back then. You know what I mean? I was listening to Dr. Eric Westman and stuff, and they just made it super simple. And so when I came back into it and then into the carnivore, it was almost like you were, ghosted or, iced out if you did not follow it to the T, right? And so it was kind of off-putting at first. And so then that's when I found people like you that were, I think, in my opinion, more balanced with it. So I just felt like I couldn't speak up because I'm like, all right, so if I have coffee or if I do this, then it's like, oh, you're not carnivore.
Right.
And I just feel that, it doesn't have to be in such a tight box.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are leaning towards that, embrace it. And we should embrace people like that because it's a stepping stone. When you're going carnivore, you're taking a lot of stuff out and it's difficult. Very few people are 100%. So it should not be a shut door for ones who are wanting to dip their toe into it and explore it. Welcome everybody.
Very well said. I remember when we had a group coaching Discord, and I think you were in the Discord too.
Yes,
Remember
yes,
one of
yes.
my clients in the group coaching, she posted what she's been having just to keep her accountable. People were posting what they're eating every day, and she posted there were like greens, a shake like similar to athletic greens, but like the rest was all like
Uh-huh.
zero carbon. She just wanted to lose weight, if I remember correctly. And then this
Yeah.
other person in the Discord was like, wait, I thought this was just like carnivore. And like she was replying to this other lady, almost shaming her, being passive aggressive. And I had to step in and be like, we're we're just sharing to support one another, and whatever works for you, that's what we are going to support. Because you different people have different things that work for them, and as long as you're making steps forward and seeing that you're losing weight, your mindset is improving, mental health is improving, that's a win.
Yes.
And then like literally right after that, that lady, because like I responded in a very professional way, just saying like we're
Yeah.
open to people just being understanding and all that kind of stuff. And then so she quit the group coaching, and I never saw her again.
I remember that. I remember that 100%. Yes. Because it's like when people are, trying something new and, asking questions, it needs to be a place where they feel like a safe place where they feel they can do that. And that was off-putting for me too, even though I know how to navigate through that because I've heard it before.
Right.
But I've been in groups where, I don't think it's this way anymore because I think they know better now. But there was just certain words you weren't able to talk about. You couldn't say the word calorie. You couldn't talk about, tracking them and things like that
Like,
on the message boards.
was that like rules, like stated rules?
Yeah.
You're
Oh yeah, I
kidding.
remember reading it.
That's
I
funny.
remember.
I just posted a YouTube video yesterday about like the best weight loss tips that have helped me lose and maintain my weight loss. And like number one said track calories. And I already got like 2 subscribers, like they removed they
Oh wow.
unsubscribed. Like if they don't want to hear
Yes.
the word and I know it's because of the calories, can't even say it.
Yeah, because because you know me, I am mostly animal based, although
Yeah.
I have reevaluated a few things and I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I need to keep this out of my diet and I need to keep this out
Yeah.
because again, I always go back to know thyself. And so, and pay attention to how you react to things. So I have again been like, oh, no, this has snuck back in. I need to keep this out.
Right.
So, with that said, we're always kind of like, moving towards our goal, and it's not always going to be that straight line,
Yeah.
because we can be our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And so while people are navigating through that, hey, give some grace. Like that's just how I feel because I've posted some things before and I got private messages like, you were a carnivore channel and this and that, and I'm like, no, I dabble in that, and
Right.
yes, I am mostly carnivore, I will say that, based on what my definition is of it, but you will see some plants filter through here,
Right.
and I think they unsubscribed,
That's
so
hilarious.
whatever.
That is so
Yeah,
fun. And those are always the people that fail. The more
yeah,
rigid you are, eventually those are the ones who end up binging, falling off track because it's like it's an all or nothing. And the data is
yes,
very clear on that. The more rigid you are, it means you're so
yes,
close-minded and you're operating from fear as opposed to realizing like why, like it becomes a way to handle your poor nutritional education. It's like, oh, that's it. Meat is everything. Meat is medicine, and that's what we're supposed to eat. And the truth is, no. Like our ancestors, come on, like 10,000 for the last 10 to 12,000 years, we ate a lot of plants.
yeah,
you know?
we did. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, so earlier I mentioned I had to look at my like my plan and be like, all right, you know what, let me take this out for right now.
Mm,
Um that's always going to happen. And I just think that, I don't know, my definition, or what I should say, my rigidness versus flexibility is going to be different from someone else. Someone could be very comfortable being a little more rigid, but in their mind, it's working for them.
mm,
Um, I think the majority of people have to just kind of take a step back and be like, okay, these foods I can handle. These foods I have to watch. These foods I have to stay away from. And it's just
right.
going to be a moving target all the time because we change
So
and we have to go with that flow, in my opinion. That's just how I feel.
I agree with you 100%. I am in shock that it's stated in the rules that you cannot mention the word calorie. We were talking just
Yeah.
before we started how I've had clients where they've done the priming protocol and they're like, eating just animal food, so no carbohydrates, no real potential for insulin secretion, and they've gained 20, no, 40 pounds in 2 months,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Well, okay, so a lot of weight loss experts, you are one of them, and I listen to others as well. And for me, it's kind of like common sense, but yeah, tracking food. And listen, the scale is not your enemy. I think also keeping track of your weight is helpful too, because I feel that it's just another tool. And if you see your weight going up, and I'm not talking one day randomly up 2 or 3 pounds. That happens, because of less water, more salt, whatever the case is, I don't know. More plants that day. You're going,
ovulation. PMS,
Yes,
water
yes,
retention.
ovulation, yes, right? It's going to go up day to day,
Yeah,
right? That's why I take my average. I weigh myself every day. I take the average at the end of the week and I
yeah,
compare those weekly averages.
yeah.
That takes the emotion out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
And it
even if you,
desensitizes you. That's what I tell my clients all the time. It's like you don't
it
want to operate
does.
from a fear-based approach. Or like, oh, I can't weigh myself. It's like, no, desensitize yourself so that you are very familiar with your patterns of how your weight fluctuates.
And you end up finding out what affects you and you get to know your body. Because if I ever have a day where I really overshoot my calories, right? It doesn't show up the next day, especially depending on what those calories were. If they were mostly fat and protein, it's not going to show up the next day. For me, it always shows up like day 2 or 3.
Mhm.
And then, getting back on track, whatever the very next day. So day 4 or 5, it'll come off. And then if I'm in a fat loss phase, then usually day 6 or 7, I'll see a drop again. But obviously, I'm not going to have the overshooting of calories every week because then I'll just be maintaining all the time. But just weighing yourself, then you can catch, oh man, the trend is going up and it's not coming back down. If you're doing that, then you're not going to be putting on 40 pounds, at least in my brain.
Yes.
Like if
Yeah.
I see it going up that much. But see, in that group, they do say that it's all part of healing. I don't know if they still say that, I could be wrong, but the gaining of the weight, they always talk about how it's healing, and that once you get into the fasting portion, it'll come off. So, you know,
Right. We've talked about this, right?
we
Lean
have,
body fat
so
does not heal you. If anything, it makes you sicker. You end up secreting more estrogen, more inflammation. Fat cells, they don't just sit there inertly, not doing anything. They're constantly secreting inflammatory molecules, which affect every aspect of your health. Then you get depressed because you see yourself getting, gaining weight. And people just, what the problem is? People don't realize how hard it is to peel 1 pound off.
oh my
And so,
God.
right.
Psychologically
Yes.
to lose weight, because and then also the mechanics of it, just the bare bones, this is what you got to do. And
Yeah.
honestly, you guys, and I know you know this, to lose weight you have to be on point. Like honestly, you just have to hit those targets every day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the hard part. You have to hit those macros, whatever they are,
Yeah.
without fail. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a slight variation,
Yeah.
okay, fine, but
The
it's
client,
hard.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
easy.
yeah. It's and just from coaching hundreds and hundreds of clients at this point, people who track have the easiest time. People who refuse to
Yeah.
track always they never get there. They just never achieve their goals.
Yeah. And going back to the dogma, I agree with certain people where the carnivore diet, some people are like red meat and water. Other people are like, well, it's, all the animal foods, land and sea, right?
Hmm.
And then you have some people who say, well, if 70% to 80% of your diet is, meat based, then that's carnivore in their mind.
Right.
So it's hard to get behind the dogma, not that
Mhm.
you would ever want to, when there's so many definitions out there of what
Yeah.
carnivore is.
Right.
Like
Technically
you
speaking, yeah. Yeah. I did a video called the Hyper Carnivore Diet, and that people loved it. It's like, ooh, new diet. So anytime you name a new diet, there's gonna get views, right? Because it's like, oh, it's not me. It's not that I have to work on my discipline. It's not that I have to actually do the work and work out and track my calories. No, no, no. It's the diet that I'm following that's the wrong diet, right? It's so that's why whenever you like introduce a new term, people flock towards it. And I've been also guilty of that. Oh, it's not that keto isn't working, I need carnivore. And then you know
yeah,
but I did the video called the hyper carnivore diet, where it's based off this paper by this researcher who talked about, like, listen, our species is hyper carnivore. It means it thrives and evolutionarily speaking, like if you just look at our history, we just ate 70% of our calories from animals and the rest were, coming from plant foods. That's if we really want to get technical. It's very rare to find a human being that only ate meat throughout its whole life. We ate whatever we could
Yeah,
get, and that's why we survived, and that's why we're here today, whereas so many other species may have gone extinct. You see?
exactly. We're opportunists,
Yeah.
and so we are going to gravitate to, what is, there.
Yeah.
And but that's also a reason why, again, if you're it's hard, we shouldn't be dogmatic if there's not a set definition of it. Like vegans, um, the vegan diet, it's pretty set in stone what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have your vegetarians, but
Yeah.
vegans is pretty set in stone, and usually there's no deviation. I'm not saying that they don't slip some meat behind closed doors every once in a while, I
When
don't
they
know,
get
or some
drunk.
cheese. Yeah, or some cheese, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I just know that, that's more set in stone. With carnivore, the definition seems to be like kind of
Yeah.
varied. So why have the dogma in the first place with that? I don't know. That's just
Yeah. You know where people are so confused? I think it's because carnivore is so effective at healing insulin resistance. By the way, keto can do that too. And
yes,
it's so powerful in its healing effects. It can make you lose weight so easily when you fix that insulin resistance. And
yes.
so people realize this, and that's it. And they become believers. It becomes a cult. What they don't where they mess up is that they can be flexible afterwards. Because once you've healed your insulin resistance, sometimes staying on such a rigid meal plan where maybe you might feel better with a little bit of Paleolithic kinds of carbohydrates like tubers, you might actually do better long term with that. But people, they can be flexible, they can't adapt, and that's the problem.
Exactly. And there's a time to be rigid or more,
Yeah.
put yourself under some rules to get to a certain healing, or weight loss or both.
Yeah.
And then it's that learning that flexibility after
Yeah.
being able to pivot into something that works best for you, like we mentioned last week. So yeah, that's honestly, I think the ideal part. But
Yeah.
insulin, and that's another hot debate. There's people who are like, well, you know, insulin being low, that's the only time you can lose weight. And other people argue that that's not necessarily
Yeah.
true. What do you say
And
about that? I'm
I think they're
curious.
both right because it depends on
Yeah.
your genetics. I think that's where the confusion comes because some people genetically can be metabolically flexible. And so when they eat carbohydrates, they don't overreact with the insulin production. They're not as insulin
Mhm.
resistant. And
Yeah.
they usually tend to be leaner. They can metabolize more carbohydrates for a longer period of time. Whereas other people, this is really what Dr. Eric Westman talks a lot about, right? It's really your genes, which is why, like for some people, they have to be very, very, very low carb to be able to heal, and maybe even forever low carb. It really depends on your genetics, and how you metabolize carbohydrates and your medical history, how much you've become insulin resistant over the years can dictate how long you have to stay keto and be in
Yeah.
keto adapted. And so, yeah, I think the reason why there's just so much war in between carbs or no carbs is because different people have different genetics. And for some people, it's like, I know, and I don't, when I keep my insulin really low and when I'm keto adapted, I feel my best, I lose weight easily. And other people are like, I'm losing weight and I'm eating rice and I'm eating sweet potatoes. And they're both right. It's just, but they don't
Yeah.
realize you're just different genes or different medical histories or both.
Yeah, that's interesting because I did do my fasting insulin several months ago, and I wasn't 100% carnivore at that time.
Yeah.
But my fasting insulin was like 4.1,
Mm,
and
that's
you
good.
know,
That's really good.
and yeah. So I want to do it again. I think that should be what doctors test as well in the standard blood lipid profile thing. But they
Yeah.
don't. You have to do that on your own, but whatever.
You
So
can go to
yeah.
Own Your Labs. This is
Yes.
right by Dave Feldman started it, and it's a really good resource. I get tested on there.
Yes.
Ownyourlabs.com, and you can get those tests without, you don't even need insurance, and you don't need a doctor's prescription. You just go and order it, you pay online, and then they give you a label, or you go to any lab around you, and they
Yeah.
just draw your blood and you'll get your results online. I love that, and it's so cheap.
It is so cheap. The fasting insulin, I can't remember how much it was, but it was like hardly anything.
Yeah.
And I did Own Your Labs,
Yeah.
and it was like so easy, so fast. And I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
do a lot of testing on my own that insurance doesn't pay for because insurance doesn't want to pay for hardly anything. So
Right.
at least mine. So yeah, I did that on my own too. And yeah, it was so easy. I highly suggest that everybody get your
Yeah.
fasting insulin checked. You know,
Yes.
for me, I just thought it was useful. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
There you go. There you
so
go.
yes.
So the verdict is the carnivore diet community a cult or not?
Oh man, I think we have some cultish behavior sometimes. You know what I mean? And some misguided people, but overall, no. But we do have some instances, some people that are driving that, in my opinion. So, but hey.
Yeah. And then, like the extreme of it are like the people who are like, just eat meat, live in nature, don't put makeup on, don't do anything that's perceived as toxic. And the best thing is that they're doing all of their yapping over the phone with all the EMF, using the internet, the most unnatural thing to ever exist.
I know this right here. I know exactly.
So
Exactly.
much
Like
fun. Yeah.
it's so, yeah. And that's another thing that turned me off in the beginning was all this other stuff. I'm like, can we just keep it simple, people?
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Yes. Do I have blue blocker glasses? Yes, I do. I wear them at night if I have to work on the computer.
Mhm.
Do I like to get out and see the sun in the beginning of the day? Sure, but I can't always do that.
Yeah.
Um,
You should quit your job and just live in a forest. So you're constantly being forest bathed. And what's the name of this guy who's like that, the Carnivore Aurelius? I follow him. This is hilarious.
oh, okay.
Just
Does he do
hunting
funny
your
me?
kids.
I
Yeah.
live for funny memes.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I gotta look at that.
Oh, you should, yeah. The algorithm hasn't been showing his stuff to me, but I know like he does a lot of stuff where it's like his ideal version of the universe is where he's living in nature and he marries this woman and she's just cooking and cleaning and raising his children. She doesn't need to get a job because trust me, she'll be happier that way. And he's just, like this whole pure idealistic version. Definitely, he's definitely not somebody who can save us if an asteroid is hurtling towards the Earth because will have no access to the internet and no access to anything where we can mobilize and nuke off that asteroid that's gonna lead to human extinction. But who cares about survival as long as we're living in nature?
I
Anyway,
know. I love it. I
okay.
love it. I just found him. I followed him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good stuff when it comes like to living a cleaner life, toxins and stuff like that. But that's like the perfect example of a species that cannot adapt. This is one of my favorite quotes by Charles Darwin said, "It is not the smartest or the strongest of the species that survives. It is that which is most adaptable to change." And
Oh
so,
yeah.
right? And human beings, because they started eating plants, survived extinction. Because
Yeah.
10 to 12,000 years ago, when our main food source, which was a carnivore diet, a lot of those animals were overhunted into extinction, and also potentially an asteroid happened and climate change and all that stuff led to a massive mass extinction of our main food source. And so, had our species not adapted to eating plants, we wouldn't be alive. We would have gone
Exactly.
extinct. So,
Exactly.
history repeats itself. And so now
Yeah.
people who are trying so rigidly to go back, I mean, there's a reason we left living in nature. There's a very strong reason.
Yeah.
One time, my hubby, I don't know how he managed to convince me. We were still in Miami He was like, let's go kayaking with the gators in
It's a
Everett.
game.
Oh my God. I don't know why. I was like, okay. We go to the
Wow.
Everglades. There's
Uh-huh.
this like a river, and so you know how it's like all swampy and stuff. And so
Right?
we go kayaking. The moment we get there, we get into the kayak. Literally right there, there's like a 6, 7 foot gator, like humongous gator that was right there. We get into the kayak and you need a few minutes to figure out how quickly and how strongly you need to like paddle to go to the right or to go to the left. I still didn't know how to do that. So we get in there and we start paddling and we're not turning fast enough away from the gator. All I see is us going straight into this humongous gator. I had a meltdown. He filmed me. He was cracking up. I had a
Oh
meltdown. We should find that
God.
video.
And he
And
had time to film that
yeah,
you
that was
cried?
after, no,
No.
after we veered off,
Oh,
I'm
after.
already freaking out, but we keep paddling and then I'm so scared. I have so much anxiety and we keep like going into the sides to the right and the left where there's lots of branches. You can't really see what's under and I feel like there's gators around and I don't want to hit the edges. And, and then he's cracking up and he starts rocking the boat. He's like, it's not gonna fall, it's not gonna fall. Look, no matter how much I rock it, that's where I have the meltdown.
God.
And he just
No.
films me. That video is hilarious. But yeah,
No.
yes.
I am not ever see I like nature, but I need control
Me
of it.
too.
So like when we go to the mountains, because we love to go to the mountains, he likes to fish, I like to hike.
Hmm.
Um, but we stay in a cabin.
Smart.
I,
Smart.
I'm not, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. And we have Lake Mead, and it's considered safe, to swim, but you still have to be careful because there's no lifeguards and there's been fatalities.
Hmm.
I'm like, no, I'm putting on my life jacket.
Yeah, no, no. In Florida, like you should never get into a body of water without, I don't know. Just don't get into a body of water.
No, and like, yeah, when I'm at the beach, because obviously being closer to California, it's the Pacific Ocean for me.
Right.
If we're ever, travel over there, I go,
So when you go into the water, you make sure like your feet touch the water. You know, it's funny.
I
I
do too.
used to say that all the time, and me and my hubby are always talking about that. Like, yeah, like we used to swim so far in when we first got together. We used to swim so far into the ocean. And now like we cannot even imagine doing that. And but recently, see, when you start looking at shark attacks and stuff, the algorithm starts feeding you more of the goodness. And you see so many sharks in late years, especially I think climate change is affecting the way they're migrating. And so what's
Yes.
happening is that they're getting really close to the shore. So it's crazy. Like even going into the water, like we went to Daytona for our anniversary and I hope you can still hear me. And we were in the beach. Yeah. And I was still like freaking out because you see all these videos of just sharks getting so freaking close to the shore. Like you really don't need too much water for them to, you know,
See,
say
and
hi.
honestly, that wraps it right back around to carnivore. So you're talking about adapting and how
Mm.
humans had to adapt. So they're adapting to their environment. They're getting closer to us because
Yes. Yes.
you know what I mean? Because being in Vegas, I'm in Henderson, so I'm closer to the mountains, and we have uh I don't know what animal it is, but anyways, wolves? No, not wolves. Oh gosh, this is really bad. But anyways, we
Panthers.
have, huh?
Panthers.
No.
Bobcats.
Yes, but
Bobcats.
that's more in California. But anyways, they come down and like they will like eat your cats and dogs if you leave your little small pets out. Like,
Oh
you know
my,
what I
maybe
mean? Like
they are the people in Springfield that are eating the pets. Maybe that's what's happening.
maybe that's what's happening.
Oh my God. This has been so much fun.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Oh
Cool.
my gosh.
So the result of our poll is that some people exhibit cultish behavior in the carnivore community, and we
Yes.
need to quash that right now because it's not
Yes.
helping anybody. And
No, it's not.
right? Thank you
It's
so
not.
much, Ayana. This was so much fun. Where can people find you, work with you, connect with you, and maybe then unsubscribe from you when you don't do exactly what they want you to do?
Exactly. So it's at Pilar Fit Vegas on Instagram and YouTube, and at Pilar Fit LV on TikTok. So
Love it. I will make sure I post the links directly under this YouTube video so people can click on it very quickly and find you. And for everybody else, you know where to find me on Instagram. I will pop them here also on the screen. Also, after this YouTube video goes live, if you sign up to my newsletter, I will make sure I post a link right under this YouTube video as well, so you can click and sign up to my newsletter. I will send you a free copy of my 30-day carnivore diet challenge. It's got 150 pages where I guide you through a step-by-step process of what to expect as you detox from addictive foods. But make sure you sign up within 24 hours of this YouTube video going live. And
yes.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again,
Yay.
Diana. And I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.